Hello everyone, Paul from Tuscan Tour Guide here. I wanted to thank you all for following me and subscribing to my videos. I had really no expectations whatsoever and had no clue that they would be followed so much. So I thank you all. And if you continue to subscribe, I guess I'll be making more. Actually, you know what? Forget about it. I'll keep making them anyway because we're on lockdown and I can't go anywhere and I can't go to work. And that's the real reason I'm doing these, just to keep up with all the art history and get into the wine, which we're getting into in the last few videos and the next couple of videos as well. So as you guys know, the travel industry has been suffering the most. The hardest. Tour guides are all at home. 2020 doesn't look like anybody will be working. So with that said, I just wanted to ask you if you feel appropriate to go to your PayPal account and drop something in my PayPal. Well, I mean, can't thank you guys enough. If not, just keep subscribing and keep following my videos because I'm having a blast doing it. I'm really hoping that you guys keep following me with my cat in the background. So this time, let's talk about how the production of Chianti and Chianti Classicos are made. Last time we spoke about the bottling, and which we'll touch upon in this video as well. But before we get into that, I just want to let you guys know how small Italy is because many people think, man, Italy must be huge, kilometer-wise, square miles-wise, because you have so many bottles of wine coming out of Italy. But this is going to narrow it down for you. Check it out. The United States of America with Italy superimposed on it. There's two islands missing. There's Sicily and Sardinia missing. So you see how tiny Italy is. Actually, you could fit Italy with the two islands in the state of California. And California is still bigger than Italy. Let me show you this. Here it is broken down with the Italian flag colors just to make it a little bit easier. We have 20 regions, and the region we care about is actually Tuscany. That's where I am. And it's a triangle, so just keep that triangle in mind because we're going to see this triangle again in the next couple of slides. So the question here is, which wine do you order when you go to a restaurant? Chiantis or Chianti Classicos, if that's what you want. If you want red wines. So do you want a Bud Light or do you want a Guinness? Do you want a Granny Smith or a Golden Delicious? Do you want a Coke or a Coke Light? Now, those are all decisions you have to make when you have to pick one. And you pick it typically upon your taste buds and your palate and what you like to taste with what you're eating. So same exact thing needs to be done with the Chiantis and Chianti Classicos. They're very similar. They're both red wines. They both use the same, the big percentage of the grapes used in both wines are the same, which is the Sangiovese. Sangiovese means blood of Jupiter. So the name of the wine itself tells you that it's really, really old. Blood of Jupiter, you're going back to Latin and the mythological Greeks and all that stuff. So it's pretty neat how old this grape is. So if we get into the Chiantis, they have their own trademark and their union, and this is it right here. I've never seen this on any bottles. I've never seen this anywhere, actually, until I started doing this video. But this is their logo and trademarked for their union. And then we have the distinct rooster for the Chianti Classico. And the year here is quite important, so we'll get into that with this gentleman here. Nobody said he was good looking, but his name is Cosimo III de' Medici from Florence. If you did a tour with me and we walked by the Pitti Palace, he was born there. He was raised in Florence, and then he actually died in the Pitti Palace itself. So Cosimo III in 1716, well, there goes the year again, in 1716 made some borders. And here's that triangle again. So here's Tuscany again. There's Firenze, which is Florence, and Siena, Arezzo off on the far east, and Pisa right along the Mediterranean. So you have two different colors here. You have the dark color and you have the light colors going all the way around it, the shaded area. So Cosimo III in 1716 established that 4 small towns in between Florence and Siena, Castellina, Greve, Gaiole, and Radda in Chianti, were all going to be the specific towns where the Chianti was going to be produced. And that's the dark area there. Now, don't forget, all of Tuscany was his. He owned it all. So even though Siena hates Florence and there was rivalry, he actually owned Siena because of the Grand Duchy of Tuscany. So he was in charge of Siena as well. So he had all that property to work with. And he established that the area between Florence and Siena is where the Chianti was going to be produced. And a few years later, in 1723, we have a gentleman from Dublin. His name was Pierre Mitchell. And Pierre Mitchell was a glassblower. And he was working in Bordeaux, actually. So he moved to France, and he was blowing some glasses, and everybody was using pretty much these, as you very well know. But they originally started off with the straw going horizontally, as we spoke about in the last video. So in 1720s, it was moved to vertical opposed to horizontal. It just made it easier to produce them, because if I would take this straw off, it's a teardrop. There's no bottom. You can't hold it flat. It'll just go to its side like an egg on the bottom. It's completely curved. So they got rid of this idea, and Pierre came up with this bottle, which we all recognize and all know. As he was blowing it from his rod, he's blowing air into it, he's making it bigger, he's twisting it so the bottle doesn't fall. And at the end of the bottle making, well, he has to snap this rod off. And he didn't know exactly where to do it, so he tried to give it a few shots, and as he broke it off and stood it up, the bottle would topple over or not be very steady. And also some people actually got cut with that piece that was left there. So what he decided to do is push the rod in just a little bit to get what we call the punt, or the kick up, as many people call it. So you have this in there. Many people think it's for sediment or for balancing, but it was really just a logistical issue that he had on breaking the rod, pushing it in so that when it stood up, nobody would get injured. And we found some extra positive things about it, so that the bottle actually is more steady, and the sediment does settle around it and keeps away from most of the wine. So it's pretty interesting. But ultimately, everybody started using those bottles. And check this out. So he was right along the river in Bordeaux, and this is his tower with the smoke coming out of his factory. And 100 years later, here in Italy, we have the second prime minister of Italy, Bettino di Casoli. And Bettino lived in a wonderful castle. Check this out. I've been here many times. It's the oldest winery in Italy, and they still produce wine in there. It's awesome. It's an awesome estate. You walk up in this terrace down here. You look down at this beautiful garden down here. It's on top of a hill. They have their own crypt and their own church within. It was huge, beautiful. But anyway, Bettino di Casoli, second prime minister of Italy. He didn't last too long. He actually lasted about 9 months as prime minister. But besides that, he was a connoisseur of wines, and more specifically, Chiantis. And he wrote down that Chiantis should have 70% Sangiovese grape and 15% Canaiolo grape, which is a typical Tuscan grape, a red one, and another 15% of Malvasia, which is a white grape. Believe it or not, this bottle here, which is a regular Chianti, has more or less that recipe that goes back to 1840, thanks to our second prime minister. It was still produced today in those quantities, and as you read Chianti on the label, you now need to know what's inside the bottle, opposed to a Chianti Classico. So it's 70% Sangiovese, as we said. Today's rules or laws, which I'll get into in a second, are maximum 10% Malvasia or white grape and 20% red grape. Now there's actually a list of which grapes you can and cannot use to make the Chiantis. They're all dictated by this guy, this union right here, DOCG. DOCG in Italian, it simply means it's a controlled and guaranteed union telling you, the consumer, that the gentleman who bottled this and the company that bottled this wine follows specific rules and regulations, so that when you do purchase it, you know what you're getting, more or less. Like the Bud Light. You know what you're getting when you get in a Bud Light. You know what you're getting when you order a Guinness. Same exact concept with this. There's 6 items on the labels that need to be there by law. So first off, you have the name, Chianti, and then somewhere in the bottle you need the year of production. Here we got 2018. We need the alcohol content. This one here is actually 14%. We have the batch number, which is always starting with an L. L is for lotto. Lotto in Italian is batch. So we have the batch number, the person who produced it, and the person who bottled it, because it may not be the same. And the product of Italy. The words product of Italy has to be there. If not, you have to have the name of the town where it comes from. So those 6 things have to be there. And if it is a Chianti, it has to have this DOCG label, part of the union. It's like the FDA. Approved by the government, and it's just telling you that it's been lab tested. It met those requirements. They didn't do anything out of what they were supposed to do. For example, you can't water or irrigate the fields here unless there's an emergency. No the irrigation is allowed to make Chianti or Chianti Classicos. So let's see about the difference between the Chiantis and the Chianti Classicos. One last step though about the Chiantis. There's a slightly superior Chianti. It's actually called Superiore. Chianti Superiore. And you have all the information back here again. You have the year, you have the batch number with the L again, you have who bottled it, who made it, the percentage of alcohol. It's all in here. Now, the difference between a Chianti and a Chianti Classico, this has to be minimum 11.5% alcohol, and the Chianti Superiore has to be a minimum of 12%. Now, it doesn't mean it has to be 12%, it could be a minimum of 12%. This Chianti Superiore got to 13, as we saw before. And the regular Chianti, which should be a minimum of 11.5%, this company made it 14. So you have to start learning which bottles you like. You have to try them. That's the only way to figure out which bottles of wine you're going to purchase and like with your meal. So let's get into the Chianti Classicos. And this is the big hit, the big seller, even though they don't produce that many bottles per year. That many in comparison. It's probably a third of the Chianti produces. So Chianti, on an average year, produces about 100 million bottles per year. All the Chianti producers. And the Chianti producers, to go back to the map, is the light gray area. The light gray is where all the Chiantis are produced. And the dark area is where the Chianti Classicos are produced. So smaller area, less bottles of wine. The gray area, about 100 million bottles every single year. And the dark area, which is the Chianti Classicos, around 35 million bottles a year. So let's get into it. Same bridge. The heck am I looking at a bridge for? Well, there's the Empire State Building down there, and you have the Verrazano Bridge that connects Brooklyn to Staten Island. They say, well, what in the world do I care about that? Because the gentleman whose bridge is named after, Verrazano, was born right here in this castle. Now you can still visit. They still make wine. They've been making wine since the 1500s. And let me show you something. Here's Giovanni da Verrazzano. He's the navigator, the explorer, who flowed into the Hudson River first in 1523. So they've been making wine since then, and he got the honors of having the name of the bridge because he's the one who flowed into there first. But check this out. That's the villa today. And on the back of the label, the back label, you actually have their castle. So they're trying to personalize all these bottles of wine so that you know where they come from, and if you eventually have to want to go and see where they produce their wine, it's a visual connection between you and the actual wine producer. You have all the things that we talked about in the Chianti wine labels here as well. Chianti Classico, the year 2013. The extra thing here is the union that they belong a part of, which is the rooster, and then all the extra information in the back, as I told you. So here the quantities of wine differ. So as you well know, 70% Sangiovese in the Chianti, 80% Sangiovese in the Chianti Classico. And there's no white grapes allowed in the Chianti Classico. The 20% missing from the Chianti Classico is any other, well, not any other, there's a list of which red grapes you could use with the 20% missing. Now, when Bettino di Casoli, our first prime minister, made that recipe up, remember with the Malvasia and the Canaiolo? Well, those are Tuscan grapes, Italian grapes, because in the 1800s we had Napoleon here, or anti-French in Italy, so we didn't want anything to do with the French, even though we did take in the bottle from Bordeaux, because it just made sense with the delivering processes and less breaking, and it was just more manageable. So in the 1900s, the unions decided to start using and allowing to have the Chianti and Chianti Classico producers use French grapes, which are gorgeous wines and gorgeous grapes. So we have lots of Merlot and lots of Cabernet Sauvignon. And that's what we typically bottle in the Chianti Classico. So it's 80% Sangiovese, and the other 20% typically a mix of Merlot and Cabernet Sauvignon. So we saw the Verrazano one, and here's just another one I wanted to point out from Poggio a Morelli. This company is not as big as Verrazano, and they make some excellent wine with their villa there. Actually, while we're here, let me show you their villa. There it is with all the vineyards, and it's right on their bottle. So as you go there and have lunch, I've been there many, many times. It's a beautiful place. You actually get to meet the whole family that still owns the property and works the property and make the wine. So all the info's still here. You got the DOCG telling you they followed all the rules, and you have the Black Rooster telling you that everything was up to norm with their laws. Ricasoli, our second prime minister, the guy I showed you before with that beautiful villa, they still produce wine. It's the oldest producing Italian wine company in Italy, 1141, I think the year is. So there goes the rooster. They didn't want to put it on the neck of the bottle. You have the DOCG, even they have to be part of that. If you're not part of the DOCG union, you can't make a Chianti or Chianti Classico. The batch number, I was going crazy looking for the batch number. I'm like, they didn't put a batch number on it. Well, they put it up here. There goes the L for the batch number. So wonderful wine. They make dozens, literally dozens of labeled wine. So you just have to start tasting them and see which one you like. 12.5% alcohol, but a Chianti Classico has to be minimum 12. So you just have to keep trying them and figure out which one you like with the meal you're having. Because if you're having a nice steak, you want a more robust wine like a Chianti Classico. If you're having chicken, for example, and you start drinking a Chianti Classico with it, typically you don't taste the chicken. The wine is too overwhelming to your palate. So you want to keep things in moderation when you eat certain dishes. Castello d'Albora, another great wine and a great company, but Chianti Classico, extra word now, Riserva. The word Riserva was quite interesting the way it just came up. The farmers started saying, well, let's keep a barrel filled with wine for next year. Just in case our wine production doesn't come out, we have a reserve stock. And that reserve stock started becoming the Riserva. The Riserva simply means that today, by law, by the DOCG laws, has to stay an extra year in the barrel, aging. So Chianti Classicos, 1 year. Chianti Classico Reservas, 2 years. And they think they're so important that they have the Chianti Classico, they got the Riserva, they got the year, they got who's producing, they got everything else, but they decided not to put the Black Rooster anywhere on the bottle. And that's okay. You're just limiting the visual impact that you're having on customers in the wine shops. But other than that, awesome bottle of wine. These bottles are not too expensive. In the States, you have the middleman, and you have actually two middlemen that you have to make money on it. But here in Italy, they're actually not very expensive at all. Here's another Chianti Classico Riserva from 2010, Poggio Morelli. It's the same label as the other one, as I showed you before, just a different color. Don't forget, they need you not to forget who they are, so they don't want to confuse you and change too many things. They just change the color of the label. Even the back label is identical, just different color. So it's pretty neat how you have all this. I wanted to show you one more. Remember the d'Albora? Check this out. There it is. Right in the front of the bottle. It's there today. I've been here as well. It's a beautiful, beautiful place. There's actually a pool that you can't see off to the left of that castle there, that villa that they have there. They rent out rooms, and you can stay there and enjoy their wine, enjoy their company, and enjoy their pool as well. The last thing I want to talk to you, the last type of wine that Chianti Classicos make is an exceptional new type of wine. It's called Gran Selezione. And it's new since 2014, so it's been quite recent. And what they did is they just simply upped the aging in the barrels. So Chianti Classico is 1 year in the barrel. Chianti Classico Riserva is 2 years in the barrel. And the Chianti Classico Gran Selezione is 30 months. So here it is. Chianti Classico, Gran Selezione, you got the year, and you have all the other ones in the back. This one actually tells you which bottle it is out of the 5,702 that they made that year. Now these start getting a little bit more expensive because they're a little bit more limited in the way they make them, but it's an awesome way to try to learn which wines you see on the wine menu, because many people don't even know what they're looking at when you look at a wine menu. You have to start understanding who's producing it, where they are, if they're using the Chianti rules, if it's a Chianti or the Chianti Classicos. You know that, for example, Cinciano loves Merlot. So it's typically 80% Sangiovese and 20% Merlot. Where the Ricasoli family, the first prime minister, they like to play around. Don't forget, they got tons of labels, dozens of labels. So they make dozens of different blends, hoping that you, consumer, try them and start picking 1 or 2 or 3 that you actually truly enjoy for a specific meal and continue purchasing those. Well, I wanted to thank you again, and I hope you enjoyed all the details. There's a lot of details about all the stuff here. I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions, please post them. Post your comments down below. Please subscribe again to my YouTube channel. Thumbs up on the Facebook. And if you have any questions, again, please ask. I love questions. And once again, if you'd like to subscribe to the channel, click on it. And more importantly, if you feel that you'd like to contribute to me and the travel industry, just click onto your PayPal account and just drop whatever you think is appropriate to my email address, which you'll find at the bottom underneath this video. Thank you all so much. Have a great day. So long. Stay safe and stay inside.